everybody. It's Danielle Damianov with the Real Estate Secrets Unlocked, and I am here today with my longtime good friend, Rob Cressy. He is an AI and self-development coach. I want to say a master at mindset, and he'll definitely get you thinking about mindset, self-limiting beliefs, and things like that. So thank you so much, Rob, for being on.
Super excited to be jamming with you, Danielle.
I know it's going to be good. I feel like this is going to be a good one because a lot of times we just kind of go through life, right? And we're not really sure why we're not progressing at the way that we should be progressing. And mindset has so much to do with it. But a lot of people think that they have to work harder or a hustle culture, or they need to put in more hours or do something different or find that new shiny object that's going to help them get to the next level. But when you really think about it, if you just go within and look at your mindset and where your mindset is, that's all you need to tweak a lot of times. So let's talk about mindset.
Yeah, 100%. And there's so many layers that I can already unpack from what you just said right there, because there's two things that came top of mind for me. One, live by design, not by default. So our ability to design every single aspect of our life. And if we actually go a step back to that, what is actually the core of all of this? Self-awareness and growth mindset. And the reason I say those two things is because I know what it's like to live the first 30 years of my life without being self-aware and without a growth mindset, because at no point during any education or corporate job did anybody ever share those two terms with me. It wasn't until I became a full-time entrepreneur on that very first day, that very first morning, I woke up and there was no one to tell me what to do, what to eat. Do I work out? Do I call anybody? And I was like, oh my God, I'm in charge of everything. This is unbelievable. And for a lot of people, that can be a heavy thing. And that's when immediately I was like, oh, you can now design every aspect of your life. And that's the domino that then created for me the desire to get better, because I was like, holy crap, I'm at zero. I know nothing. I have no clients, no website. What do I do? And I started to learn how to read books every single day, 30 minutes at a time. That created my growth mindset and changed my life from there on.
I love that. Yeah. And it's so funny because I'm a big proponent, big believer. Anybody that knows me in living a life by design, we travel to Europe every summer for 6 weeks. And my goal is 2025, January 2026, to be living in Barcelona for 6 months. But what all of that comes back to is, number one, mindset, right? Having the ability to believe you can do it. And then number two, when we talk about living a life by design, it's really about time blocking your time throughout your days so that you're doing those certain things that moves the needle. What are some of the mindset hacks or mindset coaches or mindset books that you've read or listened to that's really helped you on your journey?
So I gravitate towards things that are simple, because remember, I wasn't always this person. So I think of it like building a house one brick at a time, where these things stack on top of each other. And one of the things that has really served me are triggers. Our ability to turn one thing into something else. And another term that I like to use around this is called self-creation. And I'll give you a very simple example, and there's two of them that really resonate with me as well as other people. Is we often hear, Danielle, oh, you should be more grateful or have more gratitude in your life, right? Cool. Well, when in the world in my busy, full life am I going to find time to be more grateful? That went through my head as well. And I learned about this thing called triggers. So I was like, all right, what is something that I do every single day unconsciously? Well, I pick up my toothbrush. So first thing in the morning, I pick up a toothbrush. And then right before I go to bed, I pick up a toothbrush. And for most people, they might just look at the phone or just stare at themselves in the mirror. Or I use that as a trigger for saying 3 things I'm thankful for. Is it any additional effort for me? No, none whatsoever, because I'm still just brushing my teeth. All it takes is intention. Hey, I want more gratitude. Cool. I'm thankful for being on Danielle's podcast today. I'm thankful for my son. And I'm thankful my house is okay because of the hurricane. Boom. And I get to do that twice a day. So now 6 times a day, I'm dripping gratitude, or 6 different pieces of gratitude a day times 365 days a year. And all it was a toothbrush. And then the second one actually came from a frustration in my life. So I moved to Sarasota about 3 years ago from Chicago. And when we got into our house, I went to get water, and it was just slow putting the water in there. And I was like, oh my God, it is taking like 47 seconds for me to fill up this. Right. 47 seconds. I was like, this is terrible. I got my like,
too.
So in my mind, I was like, am I really going to go through the rest of my life in my house complaining every time I fill up this cup of water? And then a little light bulb went off, and it was like, well, why don't you just turn that into a trigger? So now every time I fill up my water bottle, not just out of the fridge, but anywhere, I'm filling up my cup of belief. So the whole glass half full, glass half empty, I just see any glass as filling up belief in myself. So I'll say, I am that I believe. Inhale belief, exhale doubt. And maybe I do that 5 times a day. And for me, high performance and mindset is about stacking ones over zeros. So I'm very intentional about, I want more belief. I want more gratitude. All right, if we are living by design, what are all of the other things that you would love to create in your life? And many of them can be soft skills or identity statements or mantras or things that drip, drip, drip. And once you understand this, whether it's your car door, picking up the dog leash, going to the gym, now you see the world through your vision as your opportunity to create the way that you see the world by your design, one micro action or mindset at a time.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the whole trigger thing because, you know, and I do something very similar. And I want to say that this is not something that happens like mindset, self-awareness, positivity, gratitude, looking at the everything positive. To be honest with you, I have, and I'll kind of like bring a story up here in a minute, but for the past, I want to say 15 years, I have felt stuck, right? And so and I always talked about living a life by design, and I really did always live a life by design. But what I started to notice is that I was not progressing at the rate that I felt like I should be progressing at. And I realized last year that the problem lies within my subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is what's controlling your conscious mind, but you don't realize it, right? So in our subconscious mind, we have all of these learned behaviors and traits from things that have happened to us over the years that we're not realizing is dictating our future. So until you start really diving into that subconscious mind, and also gratitude, having a morning routine, all of that, that is not an easy thing, but it takes practice, daily practice of doing it. And once you start getting into that habit, just like you said, every time you see a cup, you're thinking of filling up your cup with positive beliefs. Your toothbrush is your trigger. Once you start doing this on a daily basis, I promise you, your whole world is going to start to change, but it takes time. So with me waking up in the morning, before I even get out of bed, I say 10 things I'm grateful for. And then I get out of bed. That's my trigger, my alarm. So I love that whole thing around triggers.
Okay, so Danielle, you just said so many good things. Number 1, really, Robin, Danielle, these are the things you do. You say 10 things before you get up every single morning. Well, guess what? The very first thing that I think every single morning is, today is going to be a great day. And I estimate over the first 2 hours of the day, I speak, today is going to be a great day, 4 to 6 times. Why? Drip, drip, drip. So this isn't overly woo-woo. This becomes self-auditing for yourself. Success leaves breadcrumbs. You don't have to do what Danielle and I are doing. But if Danielle designs the very first thing that she thinks, 10 things of gratitude, Rob designs the first thing that he thinks, today is going to be a great day, just ask yourself, what is your first thought every single morning? Because you know you will have a first thought tomorrow and the next day and every single day that you're alive. So why would we not take that opportunity to immediately start building that positivity or that momentum? So Danielle, I want to give a great book that sort of speaks to, for the past 15 years, I've felt stuck. I know all about that. Welcome to Entrepreneurship 101. It's because we have these big visions, and if you're not there yet, you're like, what am I not doing right? So I feel just stuck in the situation. Read the book, The Gap and the Gain by Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. It is so good because it's a very simple concept. The gap is from where you are right now to where you want to be. So we're constantly like, oh, I'm not there, I'm not there, I'm not there. There's a gap between your reality versus the gain says, let me talk to myself from where I started to where I am right now, all that I've gained. So one of them is positive mindset. One of them is scarcity mindset. And Danielle, you talked about the problem lies in our subconscious mind. Literally the greatest thing I've ever learned in self-development that changed my entire life, that is a habit, a routine, a lifestyle, and a way of being, is having a document or documents that I read every single morning that create and design the powerful story of who I am, aka identity statements, I am statements, because we know we will be our own worst enemies in our mind. So if 91% of our thoughts are the same every single day, so it's only 9% that are different, wouldn't it make sense, instead of living by default for what those thoughts are going to be, to say, wait a second, let me just write down a few things that are very powerful that I can embody, that says, wait a second, this is who Robin Danielle is. And then every single morning when you wake up, I call this a boot sequence. You say, hey, what do I get to do to be the best version of myself? And very few people are going to design their self-talk, but the best in the world will. And that's why you're listening to this podcast. Because with this, like, for example, the very first I am statement, I call them the declarations, because there's a difference between an affirmation, I want to be a millionaire, and I am infinite love. And you speak, see, feel. So it's like standing on top of a mountain where you're declaring, this is who I am. So you're speaking, I'm infinite love. You're seeing it in your mind's eye. So for myself, I've got a 2.5-year-old son, and I think about him waking up in the morning and being like, Daddy. And I'm like, man, I'm just shooting these rays of love all over the place. And I think about my wife and my son, and now I've embodied, I am infinite love. And you're like, boom, captured that. And maybe that takes 7 seconds. Then the next one might be, I am abundantly generous and I am a giver. So now every time I give a tip, I'm not just giving a tip, I'm sitting there and it's creating who I am and the story that I tell myself. So it's not just a statement, it's embodied and it's lived. We're both creating the evidence and living as the evidence. This single practice every single day guarantees I am the best version of myself today, but more importantly, it also guarantees I'm not the worst version of myself.
Absolutely. And the embodiment part is huge. So I am in Bob Proctor coaching. And that was one of the coaching programs that really started to open my eyes about why I've been stuck and how I've been stuck and stuff like that. So, the whole subconscious mind and the embodiment is huge. But the other thing that they talk about is visualization and visualizing yourself. So don't worry about, I don't have any money right now, or I, can't travel because of this or because of that. Figure out exactly what you want to do if money was not an object. Just act like you have all the money in the world. Where would you go? What would you fly first class? What car would you be driving? Where would you be living? What would your, house look like? Where would your kids go to school? Just write all of that down and visualize your life, living that life every single morning. So I have 3 pages, believe it or not, in a notebook, not a little journal, an actual notebook of how I will be living my life. And, really sitting down and visualizing and internalizing and embodying that feeling of not only like visualizing myself living it, but how do I feel when I live that life, So all of that you said is huge.
100%. So I've got some great books about this. Number one, Vivid Vision by Cameron Herold. The best thing that I created last year was my Vivid Vision. It is my 2026 Vivid Vision. It's 3 years out. And when it came to creating a longer term vision, I get it. The whole goal setting and SMART goals. But for a lot of people, myself included, I'm creative, I'm dynamic. I both understand, let's make them time bound, let's make them specific, but also there's an element of energy that's oftentimes missing from that. So I didn't always relate to it's so far in the distance, so it can be hard to be accountable to it. No, just do it by quarter, by month. And it's like when you're 3 years out, you're like, how in the world am I planning this today, to week, to month, to quarter, to year? I get it. But when I read Cameron Herold's Vivid Vision, it really helped bring the energy, the emotion, and the visualization to your dreams. So Danielle, I can send you right now my 3-year Vivid Vision of my life, how I feel, my wife, my son, my adventure and play, my entrepreneurial journey, so many different aspects of my life, because so much of the embodiment is the resonance and the connection to it. So they're not just words, they're words you feel and you speak. And they're not just images, they're visual representations of who you are and where you want to go. And what you actually learn is that your future self, you can be that right now. So another great book is Be Your Future Self by Benjamin Hardy. And with that, that was the hardest part of the Vivid Vision. I was like, all right, I created it and I get it. But many of these things are like super massive goals, like we're flying on private jets and we have a private chef for our house and all this. And you sit there where you are right now and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. But that's not the exercise of this. The key becomes your ability to see your future self and be that person right now, the embodiment of it. And then the other book that really helped was The Power of Consistency by Weldon Long. And it was such a simple concept. He's like, listen, the problem most people have with not achieving their dreams is they just don't spend enough time in them. So imagine Rob and Danielle reading a document every single day for 4 minutes that says, these are my dreams and goals and vision and what I'm creating. So we say that 365 days a year versus somebody who does it once at the beginning of the year. Right. Which one of those two scenarios is more likely to create it? And that's when the light bulb went off. Oh, the power of consistency. So whether it's visualization or meditation or mindset or whatever you want to create for yourself, you understand, if I just do this every single day, 4 minutes, 7 minutes, 38 seconds, it just starts stacking up. And for the crowd that's like, I don't have enough time, it's like, we'll just do this first thing in the morning, because one of the unlocks becomes when you understand the greatest investment you can ever make is in yourself. Mm-hmm. So why would you not make that the very first thing you do every single morning? So if you're starting at 0, give yourself 15 minutes. Just start simple. All right, what would you love to drip every day consistently? And then maybe that turns from 15 minutes to 30 minutes or 2 hours or whatever that is. But it's all about the intention, the awareness, and the consistency. So everything that we are saying is both formulaic, simple, and easy, but it can feel hard if you're not doing it. But ultimately, when you live this and embody this for like a decade, like you and I have, Danielle, this becomes what I call effortless effort. You do these things on a world-class level, subconsciously, that few other people in the world do, and you don't even think twice about it. You're like, well, yeah, of course I'm going to read my visualization, my vision of where I'm going. You're like, doesn't everybody do that? And that's when you go to the next level.
Absolutely. I think when you first start getting into it, and I'll just say a couple of years ago, I read the book Miracle Morning. That was my first start of, okay, I have to have some powerful motivational mornings to set my day up, right? So that was my first thing. That was it's a great book. Awesome. I recommend it for everybody. And then I started getting a little deeper into it, and then started to hear all of these different people like David Baer or Kathleen Cameron or Bob Proctor on the power of your subconscious mind. and how, all of these different things, the visualization. So you can take visualization, you can write down your life, you can sit there, meditate on it, think about it, feel it, get a Pinterest board. But what I did also is, I'm in a mastermind about this, is record myself telling myself my life. And your subconscious mind, and I don't know if you realize this, but how many times have you gone to bed with a problem and woke up with the solution to that problem, right? It's because your subconscious mind is like trying to figure out the solutions for you, right? So if you go to bed and you visualize or listen to yourself on a loop, what your life is, right? Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference. And then things will start happening. Opportunities will start coming your way that you never never thought would happen. And a lot of times people get into the mechanical. So when you talked about business planning and SMART goals and stuff like that, I am one of those people too that I've tried that. I even teach a business plan in class, and the beginning of the class is all on your why and your mindset. And then we do go over the numbers, but guess what happens? We fill out those papers, the business plan, and throw it in the drawer. And we don't look at it again to see if we ever, reached our goals the next year. So taking this different approach of how do you want your mind to be, what do you want your life to look like? And not worrying so much about how it's going to happen. Like, I'm going to make 30 calls today, and then I'm going to hardcore, because there's a masculine and a feminine. And when you're too much in that masculine of do, you're not allowing to receive, right? So just all of this, I get super excited about, because I can see my life changing now that I'm really paying attention to my thoughts. And one other thing that you said before I let you go is energy. So I was just in Dallas at a company conference. Bradley spoke. And the two things he spoke about was relationship and energy. And your energy and your vibration and what you give off is going to attract the same thing. So if you're negative Nancy and you're giving off these negative vibes and you're going to attract more negativity in your life. When you're energetic, happy, positive, powerful, you're going to attract more of that into your life. So when you touch that energy, that was a huge thing that Bradley talked about too.
So Danielle, once again, success leaves breadcrumbs. In this conversation right now is a $10,000 coaching call, where someone listening right now is getting 12 years of experience in less than 30 minutes. And I'm sharing this because I actively coach CEOs, entrepreneurs, and high performers on these exact things. And you and I, with our eyes closed, are being like, and we do this, and we do this, and we do this, and we do this. And it can be like, holy smokes. So think of this as a playground or a menu of possibilities. And you said one of the things you do is record myself telling myself my life. And I remember at one point when I heard a mentor coach say something like that, I was like, yeah, that doesn't resonate. That's okay. That's just you being coach guru guy. Until I heard Ed Milet say that. He was doing a year-end talk for a group that I'm a part of. And he's like, yeah, one of the things I do every single year is I record myself on video speaking my goals for the upcoming year. And when Ed talks, one of the things he shared is implement at the speed of instruction. I'm not going to tell you things twice. You hear it and you learn it and you do it right now. So I was like, boom, I love this idea. I'm all in. And I went to create my goals on camera, and I didn't do it for an entire year. Why? Because I wasn't actually clear on what my goals were, and I didn't want to speak on camera something that I didn't commit to. So because of that, it became any number of things on our to-do list, probably not our get-to-do list, our to-do list. So it went from, man, this is one of one, to kicking it down the road, to now I'm making myself feel bad because now it's September of the year and I still have not done that thing. And I know it will work. I just have not created that commitment until it goes all the way around for the entire calendar year. And I said, no, stop being that dude. You are committing to these goals with imperfect action. And I spoke my goals on camera for the first time a few years ago. And it completely changed my life. Well, why in the world is that? Because of everything you said, Danielle. Because right now, it only takes 4 minutes and 27 seconds for me to re-listen to my goals for 2024. Well, when in the world do I have 4 minutes and 27 seconds? When I'm driving to the gym, which is 7 minutes, on my way back from the gym, which is 7 minutes, when I'm walking the dog in the morning, when it's 5 minutes, and every single day, once again, power of intention, power of awareness, power of consistency becomes, here I am, reminding myself, hey, Rob, remember, these are the things you wanted to create in your life this year. You are still that person. And one of the biggest powerful things that I think you have to experience yourself in this, and Danielle, you talked about this, business plan, put it in the drawer, you never see it again. Did I accomplish my goals? There's a lot of things that are going to come into your life, and maybe only 50% of your goals for the year you're going to hit. But a lot of times you forget some things. And when you're creating these goals on camera, you have a certain energy and embodiment to it, to where when you re-listen to it on October 15th, you're like, whoa, I remember when I was that guy or girl really excited about that thing. Now I can step into that. This single thing here, I know very few people in the world who do, including people that I coach, and I'm like, this thing will change your life. And it has changed mine.
On the head as to why, and this is why no one does it. And it's exactly what you said. And it's the same exact problem that I had, clarity. You know you want more. You know you want a different life. You know you want to change things, but you're not exactly clear on the path to take to get there. So then you just don't do anything. And if you don't pay attention to your goals throughout the year, this is what happens. So many things, especially if you're a squirrel, which is me, takes you off of your path. And you're like, oh, this is my goal. This is what I'm working towards. And then another shiny object comes along, and another one, and another one. And the next thing you know, you're doing 5 million different things that's not even going to get you to your actual goal. So really understanding, I think this is so important because this was the change that has really helped me. Don't pay attention so much to the mechanics of how it's going to happen. Be open to other things coming into your life. And what I mean by that is, let's just say you have a goal of X amount of dollars per month, okay? And you say, this month I'm going to make X amount of dollars. Don't have that goal of, it's going to come from this. It's going to come from, if you're in real estate, expired listings. It's going to come from my Facebook ads. It's going to come from, don't have the expectation of where it's going to come from. Do the daily actions that are going to bring in, the business, but be open to receiving that coming from other places. And there's so many stories of people being open to, not being so in the mechanical and things happening to them. And then, them receiving money unexpectedly. That happened to me last month. I got an email that it wasn't a lot, but it was $1,500 on a deal that closed like 8 months ago. I had no idea I was even going to get an additional $1,500 on it. So things will start to happen the more, you really focus on the power of your mind. I want to ask you though, you had a coaching call for a real estate brokerage not too long ago. And I wanted to get your feedback on it because I know a lot of, I teach a ton of classes to realtors. And it's funny how some show up and some are completely checked out. And I did not force their hand to be there either. Like, they signed up for it themselves. So tell me what your thoughts are on that. And I know right now, mindset is huge for real estate agents. They've had a difficult time. Inventory is high. Interest rates are high. Homes are sitting. They're not selling like they used to. A lot of people have gotten out of the business, and our settlement's confusing. There's a lot going on, but we all just gave you tips on how to keep your mindset in check. And if you need more help, you can call myself or Rob. But how did that conversation go?
It was very eye-opening. So as a coach, I am a champion for you, my clients, and every single person I'm in contact with. Everybody listening right now or watching, I'm the biggest champion and supporter for you, and I come from such a place of love. And I'm used to coaching CEOs, entrepreneurs, business leaders, high performers, people who want growth in their life, that next level of things. And Danielle, there's a certain standard for how people like you and I show up. Just listen to this podcast right now. This is a 1% of 1% conversation because these are not things that you hear very often. So I'm used to dealing or creating with that level of people. And a client of mine brought me in to say, hey, can you just speak to my team or brokerage about mindset? They're asking for it. I was like, sure, I would love to. And the very first thing that I noticed is I think there were 17 people on the call, 8 of them on camera, and I would say only 2 of them I would consider dialed in. Like, I could see that they were actively engaging and participating in this. And it was a very foreign experience for me from the standpoint of I don't necessarily relate to motivation because part of the game of that we play, Danielle, is you and I are motivated by design. Like, that's the entry point. I love inspiration where I'm like, holy smokes, how can I learn from Danielle or Bradley or Bob Proctor, where you're just hungry for all of this. And that hunger wasn't there. So when you hear this, this is a massive opportunity for anybody listening right now in the world of real estate, because this is what your competition is. So 1, there's all the people that didn't show up. Number 2, then there's the people who showed up but didn't go on camera or engage. Then there's number 3, the people who showed up, were on camera, and then we're talking to other people or weren't dialed in. So I estimate there was probably, 5% of the people that had the opportunity to be on this call to learn from a world-class coach on mindset and how to grow their business and life together that took advantage of this. And what I hear is alarm bells. Ding, 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 ding. Opportunity. What are you willing to do that others are not? Because Danielle, I get all of the challenging things that you said, because you can insert that for any industry. This is not just real estate. Oh no, real estate's totally different. Oh really? You think real estate's the only one getting hit by something? So now we're diving into the story that we're telling ourselves. And one of the things that changed my life is at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey over a decade ago, I asked myself, I was like, if I don't bring in any revenue today, this week, or this month, how can I still guarantee that I'm successful? Like, I can't allow money to be the only measure of my success. And I understood something. I was like, well, there's 2 things no one can ever take from me. Number 1, what I learn, and number 2, my mindset. So with this, I reverse engineered success and said, oh, I'm going to make my personal growth and development the number 1 priority in my life and day every single morning, because by design, if I learn something in the first hour of every single day, I'm better today than I was yesterday. So then I just rinsed and repeated this. And irregardless of if you're at 0, intermediate, or mastery level, there is always an opportunity for you to grow. And the good news is if you're listening to this podcast, and Danielle and I right now, you're on that path. Congratulations on taking that step. You're in the right place. But there's levels to this game. Mm-hmm. And the embodiment, the habits, the routines, the mindsets, the ways of being. This has taken me 12 years to create myself as this. I started as, I've never read a book before, but I kept hearing the average CEO read 60 books a year. I'm reading 0. So I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then a book from Gary Vee, and then a book from Richard Branson. And then all of a sudden you hear about, who's this Bob Proctor guy? Who's this Wayne Dyer guy? Who's Ed Milet? And you just sort of go jump to jump to jump. Like, oh my God. So now be intentional about how you're designing or learning your personal growth, because the rest of your industry is not. And those who are thriving. And it doesn't mean that they're always thriving financially, but there's the internal millionaire and the external millionaire. You can completely control the internal millionaire side of things. And a crazy thing happens. When you design your internal millionaire, what do you think happens on the outside?
Exactly. You become that millionaire. So one of the things I want to point out is, and you kind of, it made me think about this before. There's a lot of people that might be listening to this podcast right now thinking they're crazy. What, mindset, or maybe not even really kind of thought about it, right? Thought about their mind, thought about what they're thinking about, and stuff like that. So there's that old saying that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And this has been a progress for me. It has been a progressive realization over the ideal. And I know you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so I started out with the miracle morning for me. It was during COVID. I felt like, I was a snooze-aholic. I would literally snooze at least 10 times for an hour. My husband wanted to kill me all the time because I just snooze. So I can't even tell you how hard it was to stop becoming a snooze-aholic. That was number one. So I read Miracle Morning and I said, I need to really change my mornings. I can't snooze for an hour, roll out of bed, So that's when the whole kind of becoming aware started. And then it started getting a little bit deeper and deeper. And Ed Milet and Brad Lee, and then Bob Proctor. And now that's even like a deeper thing. But when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So we might be talking about something right now that you're like, whatever. And a year from now, you might be like, aha, just like what you were saying. When Ed Milet told you to do, or, whoever told you to do the goals and you didn't do it. And then Ed Milet said it and it was like, aha, right? So this is definitely something really important to pay attention to. It really just, realizing that it's not perfect. It's a process, but it becomes something that you then do every day, almost like going to the gym. And then it becomes, which is what I'm thinking the next level is, because I'm not there yet, where you're actually fully living it every single day. Like you are so tuned into your thoughts that when you have those negative emotions or negative feelings throughout your day, which we're all going to have, you say to yourself, why am I feeling this way right now? Was it something that somebody said to me? Was it something that happened on a, loan or a real estate deal or whatever? Why am I feeling this way? And a lot of times they're lies that we're telling ourselves, right? So we can then turn it around and make those quick decisions to then move back into a more energetic, higher frequency state.
Yeah. And I think of this in a very simple manner. And I say this all the time. This is a mindset, a lifestyle, and a way of being. I never set out to become a coach. So number one, I was not this person 12 years ago. But entrepreneurship is the greatest personal growth and development program known to man. Same as if you're a self-employed real estate broker or agent, like when you're creating your own money, everything is on you. And I never set out to become a coach. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to be, that wasn't me. I just lived like one for more than a decade doing the work every single day to where it became a mindset, a lifestyle, and a way of being, to where finally a CEO reached out to me who followed me on Instagram and said, Rob, I would love to hire you to help make my team better at business by being better at life. And despite the fact that I had no website, no coaching program, and I was running a sports marketing agency, I said yes, because I can do this with my eyes closed. Why? Because all I had to do was reverse engineer all of the micro things that you and I are talking about, Danielle, right now, to help others create that in their life. And when you embody this and make this who you are, this is where lifestyle design becomes such a blessing, because then you say, all right, what would I love my future self to be? And then who do I get to be today to be that person? And even if I don't have all of those answers, let me just surround myself with some people who operate on that frequency. Or maybe I'll hire a coach or join a program or listen to a podcast where these are the things that are more in my awareness right now. Because you're right, Danielle, there's just levels to this game. You're not going to be the same person today as you will be 10 years from now. And the same is true for your self-awareness, your ability to audit your self-talk, your negativity or your positivity, because that's what you end up hearing is that the best in the world are so in tune with everything that we know when we're out of harmony. And that's actually the thing that's creating the disharmony, is we're so aware of it all that you're like, you can see when you're not being it. But it's all around taking these micro steps. And I've got a resource that I would love to share with everybody. If you want to build a morning routine that you love, go to robcressy.com/morning. I've got a guide that I created that just reverse engineers how I did this for myself, and you can too. Not to become Rob, but to create your own Lego blocks of like, what would an amazing morning look like for you? And read Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, because it is so good. And this is easy. This can be effortless. All it takes is a little bit of commitment, a little bit of intention.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna leave it with this. So Bradley, at that conference that I was just at, he said there's only 3 things that you need to look at in your life, in your business. It's mindset is number 1, skill set is number 2, and habits is number 3. Those are the only 3 things. So if you're not earning the income that you want to earn, and you have the best skill set, you're the best, right? Then it has to be your habits or your mindset that need to be changed, right? Same thing with your habits. If you have bad habits, snoozing for an hour, that was a bad habit, and it was a difficult one to break. The only way to, this is what he said. I'm sure there's other ways, but I like this. The only way to break a bad habit is to replace it with another habit that's good. So by replacing a bad habit with a good habit, should hopefully break that bad habit for you. So for me, it was snoozing, and now it's making sure I snooze once, I do my gratitude, and I get up. So anyways, this was a lot of good stuff. Final words from you.
Well, Danielle, I want to share one tip for you for how I overcame snoozing. Simple. I just moved my phone across the room or into the bathroom. Why? Because I had to physically wake up, so I could not touch my phone. So when I was living in Chicago, I would put it in my bathroom, which meant I had to walk outside of my bedroom. And once you've walked like 7 steps and then you turn on the light, you've got past that judgment or that scarcity mindset. Go and read Mel Robbins' book about as the 5-second rule. Or now mine is across the room next to the TV, to where I have to stand up and go and get it. That simple thing, what's the habit? I can't touch it. And if I can't touch it, I have to stand up. If I'm standing up, I'm no longer thinking, boop, nice and simple. I'm just zombieing my way there. As we wrap a bow on this, the best encouragement that I can give is that all of this is completely possible for you in whatever way that you want to design this. Just focus on creating one positive habit or one consistent routine, one thing at a time. Don't get overwhelmed by how much there is to do. Just say, hey, what's one thing I would love to introduce into my life that would add something good to it?
Those small little habits stack up, and then you look back. The snoozing one, the second thing that I used to do, and this is for anybody that is not a morning person and was going to the gym in the morning, I was wearing my gym clothes to bed because I wasn't going to the gym. So I literally slept in my gym clothes for months, and now it's weird if I don't work out in the morning. So figure out what habits you want to change that will change your life, that will turn the needle in your life. And make those small steps. Don't do everything at once. I'm going to go on a diet, do this, exercise 7 days a week, quit drinking, quit eating carbs. Don't do everything at once. Pick one thing. Once you tackle that, then go on to the next.
Habit stacking 101.
Yes. So thank you so much, Rob, for being on. I know everybody got a lot of great little nuggets here. If you guys have any questions for Rob, all of his information is going to be in the podcast, as well as mine. So you can hit us up anytime if you have any questions. And thank you. I appreciate it. This was awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Danielle.